Let me ask you something personal, and I want you to really be honest with yourself for a moment. Do you often feel exhausted, just completely drained by worrying about what other people think of you? Maybe you lay in bed at night, replaying a conversation from earlier in the day, over and over, wondering if you said the wrong thing, or if that specific tone of voice meant they were secretly mad at you. It's that heavy, sinking feeling in your chest that you just can't shake. In modern culture, especially here in the US, we are constantly bombarded by this pressure. It's the stress of the American workplace where you feel like you're always on. It's the curated perfection we scroll through on social media that makes us feel like we're falling behind, like we aren't successful enough, attractive enough, or just enough.
We have a name for this internal noise. In the ancient Toltec tradition, they call it mitote. It's like 1,000 people talking in your head at the same time, a chaotic marketplace where no one is listening to anyone else. It is pure mental gossip, and it clouds your vision so completely that you cannot see who you really are. This fog, this heaviness you feel, isn't actually your fault. It is the result of what the author Don Miguel Ruiz calls domestication. From the moment you were born, you were taught how to be a human, just like you were trained to walk or talk. You learned the rules of the dream of the planet. You learned what was good and what was bad based on other people's judgments, not your own truth. And here is the hard reality, the one that might sting a little to hear. You are suffering because of agreements you didn't even choose to make.
You agreed to believe you weren't talented enough because a teacher said so 20 years ago. You agreed to believe you had to be perfect to be loved because of how society is structured. These are invisible chains, and they are weighing you down. But there is a way out. In this series, we are going to walk through a book that holds the ancient Toltec secret to breaking those chains. It is a guide to personal freedom that cuts through the mitote, through that mental fog, like a knife. It's about unlearning the lies and making new agreements with yourself, agreements that come from a place of love, not fear. So, if you are ready to stop the mental gossip and finally silence that inner judge, stay with me. In the next segment, we're going to open the book and look at the very first agreement. And I have to warn you, it is the most difficult one to master, but also the most important.
That promise of breaking free is exactly why we have gathered here. Welcome to The Last Read, Books for Your Ears, Wisdom for Your Life. I want to invite you to hit that subscribe button right now. You won't want to miss the wisdom we have lined up for future episodes.
Today, we are going on a journey to explore how a highly trained neurosurgeon turned shaman found the code to personal freedom. We are going to tackle a concept the author calls domestication, the subtle, pervasive training we all went through as children that taught us to dream the way society wanted us to dream, rather than the way our hearts intended.
As always, the link to purchase the book is waiting for you in the description, and I really want to ask you to stay with me until the very end of this broadcast, because while the first 3 agreements are powerful, the 4th agreement is the catalyst. It is the one that creates the habit, enabling the other 3 to take root in your life. But to understand the medicine, we must first understand the healer. Before we unwrap the agreements, we need to look at the man who stands at the crossroads of modern science and ancient spirit.
Don Miguel Ruiz is a fascinating figure because he embodies a contradiction that many of us grapple with, the tension between the logical mind and the spiritual heart. Born in rural Mexico, he came into the world surrounded by ancient traditions. His mother was a curandera, a healer, and his grandfather was a nagual, a shaman in the Toltec tradition. You might assume his path was set from birth, but Miguel had other plans. Like so many of us striving for success in the modern world,
He was drawn to the tangible, to the provable. He wanted answers that could be measured and verified. So he rejected the family legacy and turned toward modern science. He went to medical school and became a surgeon, specifically a neurosurgeon. For years, he operated on the human brain, navigating the complex physical structures of our consciousness. He was a man of science, grounded in the physical reality of anatomy and physiology.
But the universe, as it often does, had a wake-up call waiting for him. In the late 1970s, a terrifying event shattered the neurosurgeon's worldview. While driving late one night, exhausted, he fell asleep at the wheel. His car slammed into a concrete wall. In the violent chaos of that crash, Ruiz experienced something that his medical textbooks couldn't explain. He recalls having an out-of-body experience, watching himself from a vantage point outside his physical form as he pulled his two friends from the wreckage of the car. He was physically unharmed, but spiritually dismantled. The illusion of a purely physical universe had been broken. He realized that the human mind, the very thing he had spent his career operating on, was capable of existing beyond the limits of the brain.
This near-death experience sent him back to his roots. He returned to his mother and began an intensive apprenticeship, immersing himself in the ancestral wisdom he had once dismissed. He became a Nagual, a master of the Toltec tradition. But he didn't leave his scientific mind behind, and that is what makes his voice so unique. Ruiz acts as a bridge. He applies the precision of a neurosurgeon to the human spirit. When he talks about the illness of the human mind, he isn't speaking in vague metaphors. He is diagnosing a condition. He sees the human mind as being infected by a fog, a chaotic dream that the Toltecs call metote. He realized that we are all living in a dream, but it isn't our dream. It is a dream that has been imposed upon us. To understand how we can wake up from this dream and apply the four agreements, we first have to understand the mechanism that put us to sleep. We have to look at a process that started the moment we were born, a systematic training that Ruiz calls the Domestication of Humans.
So, when Ruiz talks about domestication, he isn't trying to be poetic. He means it, literally. Think about how we train a dog. If you want your dog to sit, you tell him to sit. If he does it, you say, "Good boy," and you give him a little treat. You pet him. He feels good. But if he chews up your favorite shoes, you scold him. You might shout, "Bad dog," or send him to his crate. Ruiz says human children are trained in the exact same way. We are born wild, playful, authentic, but very quickly we learn the rules of the dream from the adults around us. When we follow the rules, when we eat our vegetables or stay quiet in church, Mom and Dad give us attention. They give us love. That is the reward, and we crave that reward more than anything else. But when we break the rules, the reward is withheld. We get punished, or worse, ignored, and we become terrified of that rejection. So we start to change. We start pretending to be what we are not, just to please Mom, Dad, the teacher, or the minister. We practice being good enough for them, and we lose who we really are.
Let me give you an example. Imagine a little boy, maybe 5 or 6 years old. He loves superheroes. He feels powerful and full of joy when he puts on his Spider-Man costume. He wants to wear it to a big, serious family Thanksgiving dinner. He comes downstairs, beaming, ready to save the day. But his parents take one look at him and say, "Don't be silly. Take that off right now. You need to look presentable for Grandma." In that split second, the boy learns a lesson. He learns that his authentic self, his joy, his playfulness is wrong. It's silly. It is not acceptable. So he suppresses the superhero, and he puts on the mask of the polite, quiet child instead. He has been domesticated. Eventually, we don't even need our parents to do this for us anymore. We become our own domesticators. We install a program in our minds that Ruiz calls the judge. The judge is that inner voice that watches everything you do, everything you say, and judges it against what Ruiz calls the book of law. This book is filled with all those rules you learned as a kid, rules you never actually chose but agreed to anyway.
The judge says, "Look at you. You messed up again. You aren't working hard enough. You're fat. You're stupid." And on the receiving end of that judgment, that is the victim. The victim is the part of you that takes the blame. It's the part that shrinks down and says, "You're right. I'm not good enough. I deserve to be punished." Ruiz points out something heartbreaking here. He says humans are the only animals on Earth that pay 1,000 times for the same mistake. If a dog makes a mistake, he pays for it once. But us, we remember the mistake, we judge ourselves, we feel the guilt. Then we remember it again tomorrow and judge ourselves again. This cycle of the judge and the victim keeps us trapped in the dream, trapped in a fog where we can't see who we really are. We are just trying to survive the rules of the Book of Law. But there is a way to break these old agreements. There is a way to challenge the judge. And it starts with the very first new agreement Ruiz offers us. It is the most important one and also the most difficult one to honor. It has to do with the tool we use to create our entire reality.
The tool is the word. And the first agreement is simply this: be impeccable with your word. Now, impeccable might sound a bit old-fashioned. Maybe you think of a perfectly pressed shirt or a spotless kitchen. But Ruiz goes back to the Latin root of the word to show us its true power. The word comes from peccatus, which means sin, and the prefix im, which means without. So, strictly speaking, impeccable means without sin. But don't let the religious connotation trip you up here. Ruiz isn't talking about morality in the way a church might. He defines a sin very specifically as anything you do that goes against yourself. Everything you feel or believe or say that goes against your own existence is a sin. So being impeccable with your word means, quite literally, not using the word against yourself. Ruiz teaches that the word is not just a sound or a written symbol. It is a force. It is the power you have to express and communicate, to think, and thereby to create the events in your life. He compares it to magic, pure magic. Depending on how you use it, the word can set you free or it can enslave you even more than you know.
Think about the way we use this magic in our culture, particularly through gossip. Ruiz calls gossip black magic at its very worst because it is pure poison. He compares it to a computer virus, a piece of code written with the wrong intent that gets into your mind and crashes the system. We see this play out on a massive scale every single day in the United States. Look at the toxicity of social media. Look at X or Twitter. A person can post one thought, and within minutes, thousands of strangers are using their words to dismantle that person's reputation, judging them, spreading poison without even knowing the truth. That is a mass spell of black magic. It happens in our office break rooms too. Did you hear what she did? He's not going to last another month. We spread these viruses to make ourselves feel better, to feel supported in our own point of view. But the most insidious way we use this black magic is on ourselves.
How often do you look in the mirror and think, "I look so fat"? How often do you make a simple mistake at work and mutter, "I am so stupid"? That is a spell. When you tell yourself, "I'm not good enough," you are making an agreement with yourself. You are using the power of your word against your own existence. Being impeccable means you take responsibility for your actions, but you do not judge or blame yourself. If you can adopt this first agreement, if you can stop the gossip and stop the negative self-talk, Ruiz says you can transcend the level of existence created by the judge and the victim. You can break the spells that have been cast on you since childhood. However, even if you master your own words, you still have to live in a world where others are constantly casting their own spells. People will still gossip. People will still be rude. How do you stop their poison from infecting you? Well, that is where the second agreement comes in. It acts as a shield, a way to become immune to the opinions and actions of others.
So, that shield is the second agreement.
It consists of just 4 words. Don't take anything personally. Now, I know what you are thinking. In a culture like ours, where we are constantly curating our image and waiting for validation, this sounds nearly impossible. But let's look at the specific mental model Ruiz presents here. He argues that nothing other people do is because of you, it is because of themselves. You have to understand that everyone lives in their own dream, in their own mind, and they are in a completely different world from the one you live in. When we take something personally, we make the assumption that they know what is in our world, and we try to impose our world on their world. Consider the example we used in the last segment regarding insults. Ruiz writes that if a stranger walks up to you and says, "Hey, you are stupid," and they don't even know you, it is not about you, it is about them. It refers to their own feelings, their beliefs, and their own opinions. They are dealing with their own poison, and by taking it personally, you take that poison and make it yours.
Think about a typical Tuesday in your life. You are driving down the interstate, minding your own business, and someone cuts you off aggressively, maybe even gesturing at you. The immediate, visceral reaction is usually anger. You think, "How dare they disrespect me? Do they think I'm invisible?" But if you apply the second agreement, you realize this event has nothing to do with you. That driver does not know you. They are fighting their own battles. They might be late for a job interview. They might be rushing to a hospital. Or they might just be angry at the world because of their own internal suffering. If you get angry, you are eating their emotional garbage. You are letting their chaotic dream infect your peace.
The same applies to a rude cashier at the grocery store. If they snap at you, it isn't because you bought the wrong brand of cereal. It is likely because they have been standing on their feet for 8 hours, or their manager just yelled at them. It is a reflection of their state of mind, not your value as a human being. I'm immune to black magic. You don't need to place your trust in what others say or do. You only need to trust yourself to make responsible choices. However, there is a mechanism in the human mind that makes this difficult. Even when we try not to take things personally, our brains have a compulsive need to understand why things happen. We don't like ambiguity. When there is a gap in our knowledge or silence in a conversation, we become desperate to fill it. We invent stories to make ourselves feel safe, to explain the unexplained behavior of others. And that dangerous tendency to invent fiction and believe it as fact leads us directly into the third agreement.
Lead us directly into the third agreement. Don't make assumptions. It sounds simple enough, almost too simple. But Ruiz argues that this specific habit is where the vast majority of human suffering is born. He puts it bluntly: we make an assumption, we misunderstand, we take it personally, and we end up creating a whole big drama for nothing. The problem isn't that we have an imagination. The problem is that we believe our imagination is the truth. We have this innate, compulsive need to explain everything. We don't feel safe when there are gaps in our understanding. So if we don't have the data, we invent it. We fill in the blanks with our own insecurities, and then we swear by that fiction as if it were fact. Nowhere is this more dangerous than in our close relationships. Consider a classic scenario. You're in a relationship and you're sitting down to dinner with your partner. You had a long day. You're ready to connect, but they are completely silent. They're just staring at their plate, pushing a piece of broccoli around. Immediately, your mind goes to work filling that silence. You think, they're quiet. They must be mad at me. What did I do? Is it because I didn't take out the trash? Are they losing interest in me? Maybe there's someone else. By the time you finished your meal, you've written an entire tragedy in your head. You are hurt, you're defensive, and maybe you even lash out. But the reality? Maybe they just had a brutal commute, stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic for 2 hours,
Or they're just exhausted. It has nothing to do with you. But because you didn't ask, you assumed, and you suffered. We also fall into the trap of expecting our partners to be mind readers. We tell ourselves, if they really loved me, they would know what I want. I shouldn't have to say it. Ruiz warns that this is a recipe for disaster. We assume everyone sees life the way we do, that they think the way we think and feel the way we feel. But they don't. They are living in their own dream, their own movie. So what is the antidote?
Ruiz says the way to break this chain of drama is to have the courage to ask questions. It sounds easy, but it requires real bravery. We often don't ask because we are afraid of the answer, or we're afraid of looking foolish. It is much safer to stay in our made-up story than to risk hearing a truth we might not like. But the only way to stop the mitote, that chaos in the mind, is to ask and to be clear. If you can stop making assumptions, your communication becomes clear and your relationships change completely. You stop fighting against phantoms you created in your own head. But let's be real for a second. We are human. We have years of conditioning. Trying to be impeccable with your word, trying not to take things personally, and catching yourself every time you make an assumption, that is a tall order. It can feel overwhelming. You might try it for a day and then slip up and feel like a failure. So how do we stay on this path without beating ourselves up when we stumble? How do we integrate these huge life changes into a messy, imperfect human life? That brings us to the fourth agreement, the one that makes all the others possible.
And the answer is simple, yet profound. Always do your best. This is the fourth agreement. It sounds deceptively easy, doesn't it? But don't let the simplicity fool you. This is the glue, the one agreement that makes the other three possible. It is the action step that turns be impeccable, don't take it personally, and don't make assumptions from nice ideas into deeply ingrained habits. But there is a crucial nuance here that we often miss, especially in our high-pressure culture where we equate best with perfect. Don Miguel Ruiz is very clear about this. Your best is not a static standard. It is not a fixed bar you have to hit every single day. Everything is alive and changing all the time, so your best is going to change from moment to moment. It will be different when you are healthy and full of energy compared to when you are sick, tired, or after you've had a rough day at work. The goal here is to avoid self-judgment.
Ruiz warns us about the dangers of extremes. If you try to do more than your best, if you push past your limit trying to be a superhero, you deplete your body, you go against yourself, you burn out, and ironically, it takes longer to accomplish your goal because you've exhausted your energy. On the flip side, if you do less than your best, that is when the door opens for the inner judge. That is when you subject yourself to frustration, to guilt, and to regrets. Think about it like going to the gym. We all know that feeling on January 1st. We want to run a marathon. But let's say one day you are feeling great, so you run 5 miles. That was your best. But the next week, maybe you didn't sleep well. Maybe you're fighting off a cold. If you try to force those same 5 miles, you might injure yourself. On that day, simply walking 1 mile, or even just showing up to stretch for 20 minutes, that is your best.
And here is the magic. If you walked that 1 mile with full intention, you have no reason to judge yourself. You can go home, look in the mirror, and say, I gave what I had today. By simply doing your best, whatever that looks like in the moment, you deny your inner judge the ammunition it needs to hurt you. You live with no regrets. And when you stop judging yourself, when you stop looking for external validation and simply act because you love the action itself, something shifts. You begin to break the heavy chains of those old agreements, the domestication that told you you weren't good enough unless you were perfect. You start to challenge the judge and the victim that have been running the show in your mind for far too long. But this isn't just about adopting 4 new rules. It's about tearing down an entire belief system that was built before you even had a choice. So, how do we finally break those old agreements and reclaim our personal freedom?
We break them by becoming what Don Miguel Ruiz calls a spiritual warrior. It is a war of independence, a rebellion against the tyranny of the judge and the suffering of the victim. Think of it this way. The 4 agreements are the specific tools you use to dismantle that old structure, brick by brick. When you are impeccable with your word, you strip the judge of its ability to condemn you. You stop using your own energy to curse yourself. The judge tries to speak, but you have no ammunition to give it. When you don't take things personally, you render the victim powerless. You see, the victim thrives on external validation and the idea that the world is out to get you. But when you realize that nothing others do is because of you, the victim has no story to tell. It cannot say, "Poor me," because you know the truth.
When you stop making assumptions, you clear the fog in your mind, what the Toltecs call the mitote. You stop hallucinating problems that don't exist. You replace fear with clarity. And finally, by always doing your best, you turn these concepts into action. You ground them in reality. As Ruiz reminds us, repetition makes the master. You don't read this book once and suddenly become a Zen master. You will stumble. You will take something personally. You will make an assumption. That is inevitable. But because you are doing your best, you simply stand up and try again. You do not judge yourself for falling. You appreciate yourself for getting back up. That is the practice. It is a daily discipline, moment by moment, choice by choice. Ultimately, this is about reclaiming the joy that was your birthright before the domestication began. It is about waking up from the nightmare and choosing to live in a new dream. A dream of heaven on earth, where you are free to be who you really are.
We have reached the end of our journey through the 4 agreements. But for you, the real work is just beginning. If you found value in this deep dive, please make sure you are subscribed to The Last Read so you don't miss our next literary exploration. And if you are ready to take that first step, if you are ready to challenge the judge and silence the victim, I want you to make a declaration right now. Go to the comments section below and write 3 simple words. I choose freedom. Let that be your first act of intent. If you haven't picked up a copy of the book yet, I highly recommend owning it. It is a reference manual for life that you will want to return to again and again. You can find a link to purchase it right in the description. Thank you for walking this path with me. Until next time, keep reading, keep growing, and always do your best. Goodbye.